Cocky jokes about him when you first meet a woman and you're flirting. This is never going to work out. You're not good at arguing, and I overcompensate for being short by acting arrogant, so we'd always argue and I'd always win. Okay? I just made one up there. Now that could be useful, right? I mean, that could literally be useful in a situation. If you've got an insecurity, figure out a way to feature it in a cocky and funny way until you get over it, until you're just past it and you don't need it anymore. In marketing, if you've got something you can't fix, you feature it. Right? Avis, we're only number 2. We try harder. It rings true. It's so powerful. Volkswagen Bug, when they first were doing their marketing push in the 60s, their whole thing was, think small. Yes, we know it's ugly, but it gets good mileage. Listerine had a horrible time because it tastes, ugh. And then they came out with the taste you hate 3 times a day. Right? I think it was the taste you hate twice a day. The taste you hate twice a day. Right? And then, of course, Scope came along and said, medicine breath. Pow! Reframed it and killed it. Feature your insecurities until you're over them. Feature them. You can do this. I mean, I made this up in just sitting there, doesn't take long. You could put whatever, that word short there, put whatever your insecurity is and just start saying that phrase to every woman you meet. This is never going to work. So you're standing in line talking to some girl at Starbucks or whatever, and you're trying to figure out, who was first, and she was like, oh no, you go ahead, and you go, you look at her like, as if I was going to let you, right? And then you step in front and you go, this is never going to work out. You're not good at arguing, and I overcompensate for being tall, bald, whatever it is. I overcompensate for having a small checking account by acting arrogant, so we'd always argue and I'd always win. Okay? It's great. You can use that. Feature it. This is another one that I find fascinating. Doesn't really make any sense. It just kind of happens, and then once you think about it, you can kind of put some meaning to it. But the feeling of loss if you're not necessary. Many men feel left out if a woman wants to do something alone or with friends other than him. You ever had a girl that you really liked, and maybe you went out with her and it went, pretty well. Maybe she didn't call you back or whatever, and the next week you're talking to her and everything's cool, she's happy, you're happy, and then she goes, oh, I'm really excited. I'm going to go out with some friends of mine to this concert on Friday night, or we're going to go camping, or we're going on this trip, and I'm so excited, I can't wait to go have fun and do this thing. And you go, oh, have fun without me. You know what I'm talking about? Right? The feeling of loss if you're not necessary for her. Get over the automatic response feeling of jealousy or loss or sadness if she's enjoying or looking forward to enjoying doing something without you. You got to learn to get over that one. If a woman or your male friends or anyone, your family, is doing something or looking forward to doing something and they're excited about it and you're not going to be there, it doesn't have anything to do with you. It's not about you. So stop making it about you. Cultivate the ability to want to do things without her and enjoy them. I don't want you to use this as a manipulative technique, but I'm going to share something with you that's very powerful. If you meet a woman that you really like, a woman that gets a lot of attention, it's very powerful to tell her that you're going to do something and you're going to really enjoy it and she's not going to be involved. Don't use it as a technique. Do it. Cultivate the ability to want to do things without her and to enjoy them. Learn to enjoy doing things without women involved, consciously. These are especially important when it comes to women you aren't already with or a woman that's new in your life. Have you ever had a woman that maybe she didn't even know you, like maybe you met her at work, or she's like the, clerk at a store you go to, or a person that works for another company that you interact with, and you're not even on her radar screen at all, and you start liking her, and then she starts, you hear she's going to go do something without you, and you start to feel this feeling, and you never even had her, like there's no connection. You know what I'm talking about? Is that crazy or what? This concept applies to all relationships in life, like I mentioned. It's mature. Get this. It's mature to allow others to live their lives and enjoy experiences without you. And without you feeling that you're losing something. That's the mature thing, to be able to enjoy it when other people enjoy themselves without you. That's mature. And to encourage them to be independent. The other side of this coin is to allow yourself to live your life and enjoy your own experiences without the feeling that you need others to validate your enjoyment. The flip side of the coin, another side of it, is when a guy goes and does something, or he's going to do something, and he's trying to tell everyone about it so that they'll think he's cool, feeling like you can't just go enjoy something unless someone else has validated that fact. The feeling of loss, if you're not necessary, get over it. That is a little boy-man thing to do. It's complete scarcity thinking. It will kill things that are happening with your relationships with women. It will just destroy them if this is coming up for you. Women notice this stuff. When she's talking about going to do something fun, and you kind of go, oh, wah. Okay, well, have fun. She doesn't not hear that. And then you wonder why she didn't call you back when she got home. Now here's one that's very interesting, a mistake. Acting based on what you think she'd think if she knew what you were thinking. What most guys are doing constantly is practicing the incredible ability called mind reading. And since they're being inauthentic and manipulative little bastards anyway, they're sitting there and they're realizing that if she knew what I was thinking right now, she would run away or kick me or get upset at me or judge me if she knew what I was really thinking as I'm trying to connive my way into this whole thing. And then what the guy does is he acts as if she knew, and he's trying to fake that out too. Does that make sense? It's kind of there's like multi-layers going on here. Acting based on what you think that she'd think if she knew what you were thinking. Have you ever felt like a thought comes up in your mind and you're thinking it like it's really powerful, like those tits are so nice. And it's like all of a sudden your mind goes, she can hear me. She knows that I am thinking about her tits. She knows it. You know what I'm talking about? And then you start going, oh my God, she knows that I was looking at her tits. And then it screws your whole game up. Interesting, huh? You know, David X, who I did an interview with and who was in my mastery program, he said, one of the things he says is, when a woman, I'm looking at a woman and she says, what are you looking at? He goes, I'm looking at your tits. You might not want to do the voice, but the point is that there's a lot of power in just being authentic and being who you are. Not acting based on what you think she'd think if she knew what you were thinking. Just be yourself. Warren Farrell. Warren Farrell wrote some fascinating books. I read these, several years ago, really before I started understanding women in dating. I got a couple of them up here. One of them is Women Can't Hear What Men Don't Say, and one of them is Why Men Are the Way They Are. Another one is The Myth of Male Power. They're must-reads if you want to get some insight into this stuff. He did an interview, Power Talk, with Tony Robbins that was also very good. And I like the way that he subtly does things. He writes a book called Why Men Are the Way They Are. And women pick it up thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to learn all this stuff about how jacked up men are and how they're screwed up. And he basically explains how women create a lot of the bad things in men that they don't want. And it's fabulous. Okay, he's fabulous. But he's very sensitive. He used to be a real strong feminist. Now he's a real supporter of the men's movement. Here's a little excerpt from Women Can't Hear What Men Don't Say. No one's ever told me I want a divorce. My partner understands me. The most important thing to understand about men is their desire to be understood. In fact, it's the most important thing to understand about anyone. In more than 30 years of conducting workshops, no one has ever said to me, Warren, I want a divorce. My partner understands me. What is so precious about being understood? First, it is rarer than a diamond. Often, when we explain a problem to our parents, they problem solve, or they criticize, or they reassure. You don't really need to feel that way because ... Thus, discounting the pain. Or they say, I understand, but we don't feel their compassion. We wish they would let us know what they understand. When we hear someone tell us, I understand what you're saying, we often feel our feelings are being dismissed rather than elicited. You understand that? People say, oh, I understand. You go, no, you don't. We feel dismissed. Breaks rapport. Conversely, if we are parents, being truly understood by our children rarely precedes the birth of grandchildren. Young children are too needy to think of anyone but themselves. Teenagers are too concerned with their own identities. Adults without children are focused on careers or the problems they imagine. Most people do not feel understood. Most people do not feel understood. Stephen Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and First Things First and Principles of Leadership and is a huge company making ridiculous amounts of money helping people, he said if he had to boil it all down to one most important thing, seek first to understand, then be understood. I went through a phase where some of the women that I dated, girlfriends, I would actually say to them, I don't feel like anyone understands me, and I don't feel like women have tried to understand me. It's something that I really want. Did it get me anywhere? Not exactly. But I don't typically feel with a woman like she understands what's going on with me. I had one girlfriend a few years back who was incredibly empathic and just knew things about people and could just tell what was going on. And I have a couple of female friends now that are this way. And it's so interesting it's not about, oh, she understands me and she gets where I'm coming from. It's about, she understands me, she gets where I'm coming from, and she's doing something to make my life better right now because she understands where I'm coming from. It's not, she's trying to ask me questions to understand me. It's not, oh, she gets me. It's, she understands, she gets me, and now she's doing something proactively to get me to a better place, even if I'm already in a good place. You understand the distinction there? When you understand other people and you're doing the same thing, possibly younger men, helping them become more mature, women that are in your life, when you truly understand, you communicate differently. But understanding isn't just understanding their point or the situation or their perspective. It's truly understanding. The hero's journey found that in all myths that there was always this hero's journey that went through several phases. And George Lucas and Joseph Campbell were friends, and George Lucas used the formula from the book A Hero with a Thousand Faces and the hero's journey to develop the Star Wars series. All the characters in there are based on the mythological kind of archetypal characters. That's why it's so successful. And you'll notice the most successful books, TV shows, movies, are all based on these things. But in the hero's journey, after you go out on your mission and you kind of face trials and tribulations and you get friends and you get help and you have to face the biggest issues in your life, the real magic of becoming a man is about becoming a man who helps other men develop and evolve, to help them individuate. It's when you come back from the journey that you've taken yourself and you bring the magic to others. That's when it becomes the most powerful for you. Do I get more fulfillment out of having gone through this process and tried to figure a lot of these things out myself? Not that I'm anywhere near complete on my own path, but do I get more fulfillment out of that, or do I get more fulfillment out of helping other guys do it? Where do you think it comes from? Right, it's a multiple when it comes back. You know what I really try when guys come up to me and they say, thanks, I learned this thing from you and it changed the whole course of my life, and my life is completely different now than it would have been if I hadn't have gotten a hold of this stuff. I try to consciously every time say, I've got to tune into how valuable that is. I can't ever take each of those for granted, because that's a whole person's life. How important that is. The real magic of becoming a man, of becoming masculine and mature, and getting into the depths of this stuff, is when you come back and you give it to other men. You help other younger men become men. That's when it'll really multiply for you. Clarity is an interesting topic. Clarity. One of the aspects of getting on your own path, establishing your values in your life, the clearer you are about them, the more results you'll get from this work. So the more clarity you have around your path or your mission, your vision, your values, the more attractive you'll become. And when you learn about clarity and how to get it and how to make, challenge yourself to clarity, you will also learn how to do it for others. And when you can help others get clarity, women, men, again, I'm talking here in the context of bringing the gift back to other men after you learn it. When you can help them get that clarity, help them have a vision and see where they're going, again, that's where you evolve to the next level. That's when you take it up even another notch. Part of maturity is thinking future events all the way through with discipline instead of guessing, wishing, and leaving things to luck. You hear that? Part of maturity. It's part of maturity is thinking future events all the way through with discipline instead of guessing, wishing, and leaving things to luck. When you've thought scenarios through, you can move forward with strength and confidence, knowing that you've planned for most of what would happen, and the odds are now on your side. By doing this, it frees up your mind to deal with the exceptions as they arise. With women, a mature man has thought through all the possible situations and scenarios and has planned accordingly. The immature boy man thinks that he's done the same, only it's not the same at all. The boy man uses tricks and techniques to manipulate and only lives for the moment and instant gratification. The test you can apply anytime is simple. Ask yourself if what you're dealing feels manipulative, sneaky, or dishonest in any way. If it does, then you're allowing the boy man inside of you to run things, which will ultimately lead you to a feeling of less fulfillment, not more. If the feeling inside of you is one of strength, authenticity, and wanting to add to your woman's life experience and joy, then you are on the right track. It's the simple test. How do you feel? Now, this is not to suggest that it's a bad idea to use techniques and to use training wheels and crutches when you need to, and to use the KISS test. That's not what I'm saying. Sometimes you're going to need to just get through things. You're going to have to get over them. But if you start relying on those things and they become your identity, and you get that charge out of like manipulating a person or getting them to do something because you wanted them to, That's when it's become unhealthy. That's when it's not mature. That's the boy man. Becoming a man means giving things up. It means letting go of certain things. It means giving up throwing emotional tantrums to get attention. It means giving up correcting people because you need to feel important. It means giving up disagreeing with people to show your superiority. It means giving up being a know-it-all so people will give you approval. It means giving up saying and doing things to win attention and approval, not add value and genuinely help a situation. These are all boy-man behaviors, and you have to give these up if you want to be mature. And when you give them up, I don't mean you give them up a little bit, I mean you give them up. You get past the need to have them. And if they creep back up, you go, that's not me anymore, huh? And you just let it go. So in summary, becoming a man means giving some things up. And you might have one of them pop back up for you at some point. You might even be in a situation with other adults and you start acting like a little child. And you might say, you know what? I just started acting like a little bitch. I'm not going to do that. Let's continue. And you'll probably win their respect by doing it. You can't really have a men's program like this without a little poetry. And since I just... So, here we go. The Tao Te Ching. Thought this was an appropriate one. Yield and overcome. Bend and be straight. Empty and be full. Wear out and be new. Have little and gain. Have much and be confused. Therefore, wise men embrace the one and set an example to all. Not putting on a display, they shine forth. Not justifying themselves, they are distinguished. Not boasting, they receive recognition. Not bragging, they never falter. They do not quarrel, so no one quarrels with them. Therefore, the ancients say, yield and overcome. Is that an empty saying? Be really whole, and all things will come to you. Up there at the beginning, bend and be straight, empty and be full, wear out and be new, have little and gain, have much and be confused. My modern interpretation of that is the critical counterintuitive. Except he was talking about it a few minutes before me. Men, masculine, developed, mature men, understand what this means. Has a tremendous amount of meaning. You could read this every year and it will mean something different to you your whole life. Now I'd like to talk to you about death. Heard a couple of people laugh nervously. You know what, my mastery program, my friend Amber that I mentioned earlier, she came up on stage. Who was here for that? Raise your hand. She walks up on stage and starts talking, and everyone's going, okay, whoa, you know, David D's got a woman talking at the seminar, okay, there's a freak show. And she starts talking. Within a few minutes, she says, you need to become aware of your imminent death. You know, we're at a seminar on how to meet women, right? And here's a woman saying you need to become aware of your imminent death. And as soon as she said that, you know, I thought, this is getting completely outside the realm of predictability. I do not know what is going to happen here. And it's interesting. We're going to talk about death for a little bit here. Because as a man, I think that facing death is very important to developing. Keep death in mind daily. Why would I say that to you? Why would I say keep death in mind? In order to do this in a way that will be helpful, you'll need to overcome your fear of death and your fear of pain leading to death. A lot of people don't fear death. They fear the moments before it when they will be in extreme pain. What's interesting is my research tells me that in modern day, you don't need to experience pain before death. With drugs and other types of treatments, you don't really need to experience pain. It's not is not a necessary part of dying. Now, sure, if your car flips over and goes down a ravine and you're starving to death for 3 days and there's like some corrosive thing dripping on you and no one finds you and you're screaming the whole time, yes, there's going to be some pain. But the chances are that that's not what's going to happen. You're probably not going to be in pain leading up to death. Just want you to know that. And death itself that's one that nobody can really address